your porn scene. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Well, you're good. I mean, this is why I think you're fantastic for all of those reasons, and for being able to get out there and, answer these questions and not, I guess, close yourself off and feel like, well, I'm not going to interact. And it's cool to see people do that, especially when you watch them on that level. There's something very intimate about, I mean, I'm sure you get this all the time. People, everybody seeing you naked, that's got to, on some level, be very, like Steve said earlier, empowering. But how does the net neutrality issue affect the porn industry? And because you're a big advocate for that.
Well, and what happened was actually with net neutrality, I got pulled into the Funny or Die thing about it because all of us really were concerned that there are still pay sites in porn, and people who are hardcore fans will still sign up for those sites because then you get like the force, you get the extras, and you can read forums and stuff like that. So, and honestly, it's like anything. I think if you really like something, spending $10 a month or whatever for it is probably money well spent. So those companies still rely on kind of a free and equal internet in order to deliver content. And so if you're going to see, like, for example, ISPs start to prioritize Netflix and then deprioritize pornography as some sort of punitive measure, or just because they're not willing to play ball and pay for the rate is in order to prioritize their content. A lot of those companies are the holdouts against the tube sites we're going to go under. And so I think the real concern in the industry, and this is kind of on this, was what happens when if that goes away, if we don't have kind of equality on the internet, what you're going to be left with is just tube sites for porn. Everything else is going to go, it'll almost be like a secondary deep web type of thing because a lot of it doesn't get indexed either. They've kind of pushed a lot of porn off of that, and porn it's a societal necessity. People have drawn dicks on everything since time immemorial. I mean, this is part of the human psyche. I mean, the Navy the other day, I'm sure you appreciate this. The Navy drew a dick in the sky with a fighter jet because it's the Navy.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go on in the Navy we don't talk about.
I'm sure. I have no doubt.
Yeah,
I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, there's some things we just don't talk about. What's that?
Yeah.
Sorry, we have a little bit of a lack here. What's that?
Yeah, look, people are like, this is what people do. I mean, what is that one temple? I have a book on it. Is it in India, I think, where they've got the sex? It's an ancient temple. It's like with these huge carvings of like DPs and it's all over this fucking. Well, it's like 5,000 years.
I hate to tell people, but sex has been around a very long time. I literally, as long as people have been around, it's been around.
Yeah, and I think one thing that probably is unnerving to people about porn right now, and I do have kind of my theories on this, but I think it's that historically when you saw sexual societies or cultures, it was tied in with fertility. And because we've decoupled fertility with sex, I think that's why, like, the religious right and a lot of people who are kind of traditionalists really have a hard time with it, because it's hard for them for their psyche to understand how to decouple those. And I think so. That's where people, like, especially feminists, they don't know what to do with this. And I have a lot of theories about how women are interacting with the world right now, anyway, because even like a lot of the hormonal contraceptives change how women perceive men and sex and stuff like that, which makes sense because like birth control pills put you in the first trimester of pregnancy artificially. That's what they do, and most of the time, the female body goes into self-protection. So we have a society right now that's post-hormonal contraceptive. We have a lot of medical interventions that we make to ourselves, but our sex drive is still there. How do we reconcile that? And I think there's kind of a bigger question about that. And I don't think anyone's really addressing it. You have the camp saying, hey, sex is good and normal and porn is great. But there is the other side where I understand why these people are having their moral panics, even though I think they're misguided.
I actually saw I'm trying to find it now, saw a article from the let me see if I can find this real quick, from the Friendly Atheist on Pathos, and where can I find this at? Shannon, actually, a good friend of ours, Shannon retweeted it. I can't find it right now. But anyway, the title of the article was, it was this woman in front of she was in a church, I think, but she was in front of the congregation, and she was saying that only or straight people don't give blowjobs or have oral sex. Straight people don't have oral or anal sex, I think was what she was saying. So she was in front of this congregation making a claim that it's I guess something brought on by the LGBTQ community, this whole epidemic of oral and anal sex, which I think is a good epidemic to have if you're going to have it. But that's the mindset. You know, the religious right is they're deeming these to be, a community only issue. And the only thing that I have to say to her is I feel very bad for her husband. Like that guy.
Her name is Linda Harvey.
Miserable.
Kyle, you're thinking of Linda Harvey.
Wow.
Okay, I don't know her name.
Yeah, she's the founder of Mission America.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, see, and that's like, this is like that horseshoe where the religious right and the uber feminist anti-porn are pretty much the same. Like if you look at like Gail Dines and a lot of those anti-porn feminists, they could be in a church somewhere, even though a lot of them are academics and they're atheists themselves. So that's why I said I think they're trying to figure out how to put themselves in this world, because one thing that I think is unnerving for a lot of women, and this is where you see a lot of anti-gay hysteria, is if you have men who have higher sex drives just in general because of testosterone and physiology, and then everyone's able to blow each other, fuck each other up the ass. Like, what purpose do women have? So I think a lot of the feminist hysteria is them going, but what do we do? And how come we don't get our protected status anymore? Because they don't have a purpose the same way. You don't
Sure.
have lots of children farm going. So now these women are like, oh shit, you mean I have to be a valuable contributing member of society and also be in some way psychologically or intellectually compelling for men to want to stay with me? Oh no, but I have a vagina. That should be enough. So that's kind of like
usually enough for me.
The problem is though that there's enough room for both. Like it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. There are plenty of guys that like guys and having sex with guys, and there are plenty of guys who don't, who want just to be with women. There's a false hysteria created between these extreme sides. They think that it's all or nothing. Like you can't share this planet with gay people and straight people because both groups do exist. I mean, they do exist.
Absolutely. A lot of times they're the same person. I mean, because I'll go from doing a totally lesbian scene one day, and a lot of times they bring me to dominant, kind of little dykey. So the next day I'm doing some thing where I'm being tossed around with some dude. It's we all exist. That's the cool part of living, is we get to expand ourselves to be anything and everything we want to be. That's within our reach. So
right.
Why? But people who don't want to do that, or that's why you see women who are religious right or women who are super feminist or oh God, no, we can't do that, because it's laziness. To be frank, it's just intellectual laziness, and it's an inability and an unwillingness to be great enough to be compelling on their own. If somebody's with you just for the blowjobs, do better, bring more to the table, because they're going to leave. If sex is the only thing that you have as a linchpin in your relationship, and that's what most women were taught. The Victorian era kind of cemented that women think that here, you give me love and resources and I give you sex. That's the transaction, right? But in this modern society,
there's a societal contract between them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's unfair. That's unfair to men. But men were willing to do it because they needed lots of farm hands, So it makes sense why people do it. But right now we're in kind of a neo hunter-gatherer society. Most of us live in cities and we go hunt and forage for shit. We don't need a lot of offspring. So then, women have to find their place again. Okay, well, if we're not broodmares, then what are we? And how are we contributing to society as a whole? And so that's where you see a lot of women driving that. And then also you see it with same with the religious right. A lot of those guys, they're either repressed, they have homosexual desires they don't want to acknowledge. That's a huge part of the religious right. Huge. So every time you see guys, every time they catch them, it's they're with a transsexual, prostitute doing methamphetamine. It's that Focus on the Family guy. What was his name? Ted Haggard.
Yeah, it doesn't even phase anybody anymore, does it?
Yeah.
Does it even phase anymore when some religious right advocate that's always been talking about being anti-gay gets, found to have a tranny in a bathroom? It doesn't even phase anybody anymore. It's like it's almost like more. It's more astounding when you find somebody that's actually not had a sexual scandal, of some kind.
We're an atheist channel here, and so we deal a lot with mostly religious arguments back and forth. And I know quite a few that. In my not only my personal life with the church that I used to go to, I know quite a few that aren't so what's the word? Pearly white, we'll say.
He's corrupted a few people, is what he's trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And
yep. Because porn actresses get a lot of those people too. It's amazing.
I can imagine.
This is why, they're trying to get Trump on the Stormy thing. And I don't think anybody was surprised by Trump fucking porn stars. I mean, the guy had, the Miss USA pageant.
Shocked.
So,
except his wife, I think she was surprised, but...
Yeah, but I think he wasn't a model, and she was rumored to be an escort or something back in Eastern Europe. I don't know. She's gorgeous.
In Russia. She's gorgeous. Oh, she's really gorgeous, yeah.
Gorgeous. But, Trump was he a Democrat till 2009? I don't I've never held Donald Trump to some moral standard. Doesn't. He's not
right.
He's not. So, but a lot of those people, a lot of the celebrities too, that we get to know, and exactly what's going on. Charlie Sheen was one of them. But I don't believe in judging people for what they do in their personal lives as long as they haven't enacted judgment on other people. As long as children and animals aren't harmed, I don't give a fuck what people do. I'm a pure libertarian.
That's a good point.
That's our philosophy here.
Charlie Sheen seems fun.
I'd party with him.
Seems like he'd be fun to hang out with.
I've heard he's a lot of fun. I know a lot of people who know him. I've never met him, but he seems... Yeah, and I think that's it's all sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Every single religion, every single society throughout history, every secret society, every closed group that goes on the top of a pyramid and cuts the hearts out of virgins every eclipse and fucking tumbles their body. It's all sex, drugs, and rock and roll. At the base of that, there's some shamanic ritual, and everyone's doing cocaine and fucking each other. That's the truth. And religion right now is trying to pretend that that's not the case because they're trying to impose some sort of social order. I understand why they're doing it, because they're social control freaks, but they just don't know how to order themselves in their mind to let go of the fact that, hey, you know what? This all exists out in the world, every variety of it. And sometimes you just got to let it go, curate your own fucking experience. But you reading to me from some book that was written and rewritten at the Council of Nicaea is not going to change my fucking mind. Do better. Produce a better book.
You're my new hero. You are my new hero. We need. That's what we need to do is do a poster of Mercedes and the words "do better" at the very bottom. That's hashtag do better.
Kyle, can she be the NonSequitur official porn star? Can she be our official one?
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This was fantastic.
I like that.
Steve, do you have anything else you want to? I want to save. I'm hoping that Mercedes agrees to come back if her schedule allows in October, so we can actually do this in front of a live, because I know people will want to ask so many questions, and we want to do that. So I want to save a little bit for that, Steve. But do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, I just wanted to honestly thank her for coming on and joining the NonSequitur Show. I mean, we've been reaching out to her on Facebook, and she was so polite, so nice, and so sweet, and just said, you know what, I love to do that. And we love when we have guests that are enthusiastic and want to talk to people, and we find that to be what we built our brand on, right? We go out there, we put our face out there, we talk to people, and we associate with the fans. You seem to have the same model, and I think that's why we picked you and said, this is the person that we want to have on to talk about these topics. And it's unfortunate because of the strike that we weren't having a live audience, but next time we will. And maybe you can bring maybe a friend or something. There's a few, like I said, there's a few that I actually wouldn't mind bringing on, maybe like a Piper Perry or something.
Oh gosh, Steve. Behave.
Hey, well, throw it out there. Hey, come on. You talked about your bi scenes for a while, Kyle. I mean, I have some lesbians that I actually.
I love Piper. I did a girls' way scene with Piper. She's so small.
Oh.
She's like, she's so cute.
I do know about that scene.
Did you see that scene? Because it was so
of course
great.
I did.
It was with whales. She's licking bone of whales, and I fucking like because we're busy literally just trying to find shit to do because we've done every scene like every thing a million times. So how do you make it different, right? And usually it's like